Jango Fett was a bounty hunter from Concord Dawn who was well known around the galaxy for being one of the best bounty hunters around during the time of the Republic. After holding this incredible reputation for a long time, he was recruited by Darth Tyranus or Count Dooku to become the template for the clones of the Grand Army of the Republic. So how did Count Dooku recruit Jango Fett on one of the moons of Bogden to become the template for every single clone? I'm going to break down exactly how Dooku recruited Jango Fett in both Canon and Legends and why he was chosen for the role above every other bounty hunter. So before we get into it, remember to smash the subscribe button down below for more awesome Star Wars lore content. At the moment, 69% of you have not hit the big red button, so make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed the video. So in canon, the story is pretty simple. While on the hunt for an elusive bounty target, Jango Fett was led to one of the moons of Bogden, which had a small, rocky and barren landscape. Jango Fett didn't realize that the whole bounty was actually set up by Count Dooku, who was searching for the most suitable candidate to become the template for the cloners on Kamino to use in the creation of the Grand Army of the Republic. Once he arrived down on the surface of the moon of Bogden, he was approached by a shadowy figure in a deep black robe who had an aura of power and control surrounding his presence. Jango eventually walked up to the man who revealed himself only as Tyranus. The two begin to argue about the details of the deal, but Tyranus reassures Jango that the price the Kaminoans are offering for the job is more than fair. Jango is still worried at exactly what the Kaminoans might do with his genetic template. Dooku tells Jango that he will be required to provide regular access to himself so that the Kaminoans can access his genetic template at all times. He would also be required to live with the cloners on Kamino so that they could take more samples from him in case things went wrong with the cloning process. Dooku then further tells Jango that he doesn't have to make the decision right away, giving him time to complete other missions before surrendering himself to the Kaminoans. Dooku does mention, however, that if he chooses to retire from the bounty hunting profession immediately, his compensation of 20 million credits would be more than enough to live a very comfortable life, even while stuck inside the laboratories of Kamino. Jango stops to consider the offer but asks Tyranus why he chose him out of all of the other skilled bounty hunters in the galaxy. Dooku quickly responds, telling him that there are few who have the reputation that he does, both in terms of skill and the ability to keep quiet about his jobs. Dooku further tries to convince Jango, telling him to imagine a whole Grand Army of the Republic made in his image, a show of strength and power like the galaxy has never seen before. He asks Jango how many other men can claim such a large and impactful legacy on the history of the galaxy. And to end the story, Jango tells Tyranus that he is happy with the 20 million credits, but he won't take the job unless he can claim one more thing as compensation. He is of course talking about an unaltered clone of himself with no modifications to make him age faster or more aggressive. This unaltered clone will of course go on to become Boba Fett. Despite accepting Tyrannus' offer, Jango continued to take jobs as a bounty hunter for some time after, confusing many of the other bounty hunters in the galaxy because they had heard rumors of Jango working with a mysterious client on a major job. So now I'll go into the Legends version of events, which has some major differences. After you've heard both versions, make sure you let me know down below which one you prefer. In Legends, the story begins with Jango Fett hunting down a renowned criminal named Miko Ginty, who was wanted by the Republic for crimes including assault, larceny and murder. Fett hunted Miko Ginty on a lengthy chase throughout the Outer Rim until he eventually captured him on a remote space station known as the Outland Station. While collecting his fee for the bounty on the station, a man who called himself Tyrannus offered Jango Fett the chance to participate in an exclusive contest to hunt down the former Jedi and Padawan of Count Dooku known as Kumari Vosa, placing a bounty of 5 million credits on her head. Jango would not be alone in the hunt for Kumari Vosa, however, because Dooku had also offered this mission to several other well-known bounty hunters around the galaxy, hoping to discover the strongest and most resourceful template for the clone army. This was just the beginning of Dooku's massive mystery contest, where he would send the bounty hunters down a long series of clues and hints until they were eventually led back to Kumari Vosa. Starting off on the massive hunt, Jango found his first lead, which was a death stick dealer with possible ties to Kumari Vosa's force cult known as the Bando Gora. If you've read the Darth Plagueis novel, you'll know how ruthless and dangerous the Bando Gora were. Jango tracked this death stick dealer all the way to his death sticks warehouse in the industrial district of Coruscant, eventually forcing him to reveal exactly who was supplying him with the death sticks to sell. This information led Jango to a nerf processing plant, also in Coruscant's industrial district. The processing plant was just a cover story, however, and instead, the facility was used as a central shipping hub for the owner's death stick distribution operation. The owner of the facility was unfortunately killed by another bounty hunter named Montrose before any useful information could be gained out of him, leading the two to engage in a brief skirmish inside of the processing plant. Immediately after this, Montrose left Coruscant to continue the search for Kamino Vosa, while Jango Fett searched the plant owner's databases in hopes of discovering more leads on the search. Inside the database, Jango found transmissions from Conus Trell, the senator for Ryloth, which he knew had a deep connection to the case he was currently trying to solve. Immediately after, Jango traveled to the senator's Coruscant apartment in the political district and dangled him off of his own balcony until he confessed that he was in contact with a crime lord who specialized in dealing death sticks on the planet Malastare. Eventually, the Coruscant police force arrived at the location as Jango was still holding the senator over the balcony, demanding that the bounty hunter release him. Jango simply said, "As you wish," and to the surprise of the Coruscant police force, he dropped the senator to his death. Wow, that really shows just how ruthless Jango was. After this, Jango destroyed the Coruscant security force ship and left Coruscant, where he attempted to figure out a way to contact the crime lord on Malastare that the senator mentioned. Eventually, Jango Fett traveled to the Uvo asteroid belt with the intention of breaking a smuggler out of prison there to help him with the plan to gain an audience with the Malastare death stick dealer. Just as he reached the smuggler's cell, however, another of the bounty hunters that Dooku sent on the same mission arrived and held Jango at gunpoint. They did settle their differences soon after, but yet another bounty hunter arrived on the asteroid belt prison, this time Zam Wessel, who you'll remember from Attack of the Clones. The event ultimately led to a huge riot inside of the prison, costing Jango Fett his beloved ship, the Jasta's Legacy, when it was destroyed by prison security. Following the destruction of his prized ship, Jango stole a patrol craft from the prison security team and swiftly plotted a course for the planet Malastare with Zam Wessel and the other bounty hunter on board. Jango accepted this new patrol craft as his own ship, giving it the name Slave 1. That's such an awesome story for how Jango obtained the Slave 1, so let me know down in the comments if you think that's an awesome origin story for his ship. Now, there were a lot more steps in this extremely complex bounty hunters competition, but I'm going to skip directly to the final stage of the hunt. Eventually, Zam Wessel betrayed Jango Fett, causing him to leave her inside of a prison cell and return to the Outland station where the multi-stage contest began. Once there, the location of the final bounty target, Kamino Vosa, was revealed, leading Jango to travel to the fourth moon of Bogden. As Jango entered the Bogden system, he was forced to fight off a range of fierce Bando Gora opponents and a number of other bounty hunters. He eventually arrived at the lair of Kamino Vosa, who had fallen to the dark side and become a Dark Jedi by this point. Moving deeper into the lair of the Dark Jedi, Jango Fett was ambushed and knocked unconscious, leaving him captured without any of his weapons once he awoke. This is the event where Jango Fett received many of the scars on his face, which are clearly visible in Attack of the Clones. Dooku's former Padawan, Vosa, eventually came out of hiding and confronted Jango personally, demanding to know who sent him to kill her. As this was happening, Zam Wessel, who Jango thought he had left inside of a prison cell, arrived at the lair of Kamino Vosa and freed him before Vosa badly injured her. Dooku's fallen apprentice was absolutely insane at this point. Jango Fett and Kamino Vosa then entered an incredibly intense duel, fighting right down to the wire, with Jango coming out victorious. As he prepared to finish her off, Vosa asked him whether or not he would choose to leave her dead or alive. Jango then simply stared at the dying woman, leaving her alive, but something chilling happened. Vosa began choking to death without any explanation. Of course, moments later, Darth Tyranus appeared, solving Jango's mystery and leaving him extremely impressed. Dooku revealed to him that the whole mission and the detective operation was simply a test to determine whether or not the rumors of Jango Fett's skills against Jedi were true or not. Dooku considered the ability to kill Jedi essential for the template of the clone army because it was a necessary skill for the eventual execution of Order 66. Jango immediately asked to collect his bounty for the successful mission, but Tyrannus countered his offer, telling him that he could earn significantly more credits if he would agree to become the template for the clone army and live on Kamino with the cloners there. Jango Fett agreed to the task on the condition that an unaltered clone of himself be created as a son, and then began to personally train the clones that were created in his image. So that is exactly how Count Dooku recruited Jango Fett for the template of the clone army on the moons of Bogden. If you enjoyed the video, remember to smash the subscribe button for more awesome Star Wars lore content. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.